Welcome back to Le Podcast de Philippe. I love that intro music. It's great to be back with you all for another deep dive. You know how this works. We take a mountain of research and boil it down to the most fascinating and maybe sometimes unsettling insights. And today, well, let's just say today's topic is both fascinating and a little disturbing. We're talking about a trend called minion gore.
Minion gore.
Yeah, you know those little yellow guys from Despicable Me? Apparently, people are using AI to create videos where these minions are, well, involved in some pretty horrific stuff.
Oh, wow. Like what?
We've got articles from 404 Media and the French publication Coi, and they both dive into this. It's AI-generated minions in videos depicting real-world violence.
Oh, okay. I see where the gore comes in. That's messed up.
Right. It's taking these cute, innocent characters and putting them in situations you'd never associate with them. And the really wild part is that it all started in Russia, of all places, before going global back in December.
Russia. Yeah, that is interesting. It's actually a pretty clever way to try and get around content moderation, too.
Exactly. That's one of the big issues here. These platforms, like YouTube and whatnot, they have algorithms looking for violent content. But when it's presented in this cartoon style, it might slip right through the cracks.
Right. The algorithms are probably looking for, real people, real blood, that sort of thing, not a cartoon minion getting,
And that's what makes this so tricky. The articles actually list some really specific examples, like the Christchurch mosque shooting and even the Ronnie McNutt suicide, all recreated, but with minions.
Wow. That's dark.
Yeah, it is. And 404 Media even interviewed a professor, Hani Farid from UC Berkeley, who specializes in this sort of thing. He said that these traditional content filters, like hashing and fingerprinting, they're basically useless here.
Because the AI is generating each video uniquely, right? Even if it's based on the same source footage, there are going to be enough variations that the filters won't recognize it.
Exactly. He compared it to trying to find a specific grain of sand on a beach. You can't just, look for a perfect match.
So what are the platforms doing about it? Are they just throwing their hands up in the air?
Well, they're trying to build databases of these AI-generated variations.
Yeah.
But Professor Farid basically said it's a constant game of catch-up. As soon as they identify one, 10 more pop up.
That makes sense. AI technology is advancing so rapidly.
The scariest part, the technology to make these videos is readily available. The article specifically mentions Runway, and it's super user-friendly. You could literally type in a prompt like, make this clip look like a Minions animated movie, and boom, there you go.
So anyone with an internet connection and some basic computer skills could create this kind of content. That's terrifying, especially when you think about the potential impact on younger viewers.
Right. That's what's so disturbing. Imagine a kid, they love Minions, they see these videos online and think it's going to be silly and fun, but instead they're exposed to something truly horrifying.
Yeah. The French YouTube video we have even goes into the potential psychological damage. It's not something to take lightly.
And the articles are really pushing for people to take action. Don't click on these videos. Report them immediately if you see them. And talk to your kids about internet safety. It's more important now than ever.
It's like we're in this weird gray area now, where it's not clear-cut what's okay and what's not.
Yeah. It's like, how do you even define harmful when you're dealing with cartoons? It's not like seeing a real person get hurt, but the psychological impact, especially on kids, that's real.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond kids too, right? Like, even for adults, seeing violence, even cartoon violence, can desensitize us, make us numb to it.
Right. And that's what's so disturbing about this whole thing. It's like we're normalizing violence by packaging it in this fun, innocent way.
Yeah, it's like subconsciously our brains are being trained to not react to it as strongly.
The 404 Media article brings up a particularly chilling example. They talk about how someone used AI to recreate the Christchurch mosque shooting footage, but with minions.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's just unthinkable.
Yeah.
But the fact that someone could do that so easily, that's what's terrifying.
It really makes you question, like, what's the limit here? Where does it stop?
And how do the platforms even begin to police this? It's like a hydras. You cut off one head, 2 more grow back.
Right. It's this constant arms race between the technology and the people trying to control it.
And then there's the whole ethical question of, AI-generated content in general.
Yeah.
It's not just about violence. It's about deepfakes, misinformation, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. It's like we're opening Pandora's box here, and we have no idea what's going to come out.
The Corey article, the French one, they talk about the potential for regulation. Some experts are calling for stricter controls on AI technology. especially when it comes to creating content.
Regulation.
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
right. On the one hand, you don't want to stifle innovation,
Hmm.
but on the other hand, you need some safeguards in place.
It's like, how do you balance freedom of expression with the need to protect people from harm?
Exactly. And it's not just about protecting people from physical harm. It's about protecting them from psychological harm, too.
Which is often harder to define and even harder to regulate.
It's like we're in this totally uncharted territory, and the rules are being written as we go.
Yeah, and the stakes are incredibly high.
This isn't just about minions and cartoons anymore. This is about the future of the internet, the future of how we consume information, the future of reality itself, maybe.
It's about what it means to be human in a world where technology is becoming increasingly powerful and increasingly difficult to control.
It really feels like we're at a tipping point, doesn't it? Like AI has so much potential for good, but we're also seeing the dark side of it.
Yeah, it's a real dilemma, and it's not just these minion videos. Like you mentioned before, deepfakes are a huge concern too.
Right. The ability to create these hyper-realistic fake videos, it's terrifying. It's like, how
Yeah.
can you even trust anything you see anymore?
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of AI-generated text and images. It's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's fabricated.
In all of this, it's eroding trust, right? Trust in the media, trust in institutions, trust in each other.
It's a recipe for chaos, really, and it's happening so fast.
The Corey article talked about the potential for regulation. Like, maybe governments need to step in and put some limits on AI technology, especially when it comes to creating content.
Regulation. Yeah, it's a tough one because on one hand, you want to encourage innovation, right? But on the other hand, you need to protect people from harm.
Exactly. And it's not even clear how you would regulate something like this. AI is evolving so quickly, it's like trying to hit a moving target.
Right. And then there's the whole issue of freedom of speech. Where do you draw the line? What kind of content should be allowed and what should be banned?
It's a messy situation, for sure. It's
Yeah.
like we've unleashed this incredibly powerful force, and we're just starting to grapple with the consequences.
Yeah, and those consequences could be huge. It's not just about protecting people from physical harm anymore. It's about protecting them from psychological harm, from manipulation, from disinformation.
It's about protecting the very fabric of reality.
And it's going to take a collective effort. We need to have these tough conversations. We need to educate ourselves and our kids about the potential dangers of AI. We need to be critical thinkers, and we need to demand accountability from the platforms that are hosting this content.
Yeah, we can't just sit back and hope for the best. This is a fight we all need to be involved in.
Well said.
So that's our deep dive into minion gore, or I guess more broadly, into the dark side of AI-generated content. It's a lot to process, and honestly, it's pretty unsettling. But, as always, awareness is the first step. So we hope this conversation has given you some food for thought.
Yeah, and maybe a little healthy dose of paranoia. Stay vigilant out there, folks. The internet is a wild place.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on the podcast de Philippe. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into something fascinating. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay critical.